Happy birthday, everybody. No, it's not my birthday. It's the birthday of this desktop PC right here. It's been a year since I put this machine together, and my content has changed a lot as a result of that. So I just wanted to take this anniversary as the opportunity to talk about some of my greatest successes and things I enjoyed about using this particular PC, and also some particular headaches that I've run into with my particular setup. Now, in order for this to make any sense, we need to kind of go in chronological order of from when I first got this PC until now, in order for sort of like the changes in content versus the changes in hardware versus the changes in workflow. Now, I previously had a laptop, and that did make some good stuff, like my You're a Mean One Grinch stuff. But for me to become a serious video editor, which is what my major is in school, that I really kind of needed to sort of get down and get a desktop and just really dig into making videos that are more complex and just figure all that process out. So let's go back to my PC update video I released back in, I think, July of 2019, where I teased I had a Radeon 7. Now, the first video I actually made using that computer was the fighting all 15 levels of Thunderlord ZINOGRE video. And that video really taught me a lot about not only file compression, but also working with a PC capture card and just general file organization and sort of structuring projects. I think also around this time, it was when I was still debating between using Rec Central and OBS, where Rec Central came with my capture card and was a little bit more straightforward to use, whereas OBS, it had more potential, but I think I've talked about before how that had issues with my Radeon 7 prior to a graphics driver update. Now, my first on-camera video was my Grinch League 1 year later video. And I know that doesn't seem like a big milestone to jump from voiceover to live action, but it was for me because, here's a little hint, I actually kind of hate doing voiceover videos. And the reason why is because you always need to find footage that is engaging under whatever you're talking about, instead of just recording here and then I just splice together whatever it is. I don't need to look for visuals, because I always kind of hate when content creators, they do a voiceover and they just have like gameplay vaguely related to what they're talking about just under them for like 2 minutes. It just bothered me because that seemed kind of lazy. But when it came time for me to actually like make videos with voiceover, I really resisted doing that, and it just like made the video so much longer to make. And you know what? I'm actually kind of glad that I've switched to the on-camera thing, because sort of since then, I kind of developed, like, I wouldn't call it a disdain, but sort of like a distaste for video essays or just videos where people just do voiceover over things. And the reason is that in my brain, it's just kind of, they all kind of like bleed together. Like, it doesn't matter if they're really crappy or they're really good. They just kind of all bleed together at a certain point, because it's just somebody's voice over footage, and the editing doesn't particularly stand out, no offense, and a lot of things kind of use the same footage talking about the same things. So it's at least nice that even if I'm talking about things that other people have talked about, you're at least looking at something different on the screen. And around this time period, from like mid-October to like mid-November, was when I filmed the first half of Daily December, and I actually edited a lot of those first half videos together in that same time frame. It's because my thought process was that I can film and edit videos while I'm home for winter break for the second half, but for the first half, that's gonna be when I'm doing finals and I'm coming back home, so I wanna get that done ahead of time. Now, by the end of Daily December, I actually feel like I got pretty fast and making like sub 8-minute videos with very little like sort of graphical accompaniment like I put over here. But considering how much stuff I put in my videos now and how I script things, that pretty much all that time I had saved pretty much got filled up with sort of more complex and higher quality stuff. So I will say that having the power of the PC was really nice because it allowed me to render things much faster for how quick I was making all these daily December videos, because every moment I needed just to edit these videos and get them out. So with all the time I saved by rendering on something like this, compared to my laptop, yeah, that benefited a lot. And for Christmas, I got the Noctua NHD15 CPU cooler. Now I know that's super overkill for 3700X, but I'm a bit of a silence freak and I wear headphones, and that AMD cooler was screaming loud sometimes. Like, it wasn't that bad, but it's when you started putting it under load that the fan was really annoying. So I'm glad that I replaced it. But I also got it because I at least expect to put one more CPU upgrade in this machine at some point. And it's probably gonna be the 16 core. And from what I've seen, 16 cores, you're probably gonna need a fair bit of cooling on it. And when I had got back to the spring semester of college in January, that was when I made videos on a weekly basis. I really like the idea of doing weekly videos, that I put out something regularly and that I'm regularly engaged with doing this thing, that my creative juices are constantly flowing. I'm trying to come up with new ideas and, you know, not just sit there and just be like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna suddenly do something and then, you know, stop it for a month. But considering how the weekly videos thing ended up, you know, I stopped doing it. Yeah, I don't know if that experiment ended particularly well. Now, in like mid-February was when I actually started scripting my videos, with I think my first one being my Grinchly characters versus actual Smash Ultimate DLC characters video. And kind of looking back through my videos, I'm actually surprised I didn't script stuff sooner. I mean, I don't feel too bad considering that Linus Tech Tips was getting paid to make videos talking about products, and they didn't script their videos until like 4 years after they started. You know, it's funny, when I was first scripting my videos, I was complaining. I was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna slow down my output severely because it's gonna take a long time to write these things, and it's gonna, you know, make it more of a pain to get everything done all at once. And then flash forward to now, where I have tons of scripts just sitting, written, that I haven't filmed yet. And the main bottleneck of my ability to make videos is just my sheer laziness to sit in front of a camera and read the script. Now, back in March, I obtained my NVMe SSD. I made a whole video talking about it. And since making that video, it actually has added a lot of real world performance and benefit to my video production process. So not only does it severely cut down render times in DaVinci Resolve using an NVMe drive versus a SATA SSD, that the way I export videos of trying to squeeze the blood out of the stone of my phone camera, where I export a big raw file first and then compress it down so I can at least get the best quality out of the phone camera I can, that having an NVMe drive with that raw file is much, much easier than using a SATA drive. Oh, and speaking of DaVinci Resolve, I made a goal for myself at the end of 2019, early 2020, that I would try to move away from Adobe Premiere as much as possible for video editing all of my videos. And you know what? That goal has been achieved because I've been using DaVinci Resolve almost exclusively for my videos. And I haven't used Premiere Pro probably for like a couple months. Yeah. Now, why am I moving away from Premiere Pro, you might ask, when every other person on the planet apparently uses it? Well, the main reason I started using Premiere Pro in the first place was because it came with a free software license as being part of a student of my university, but I'm about to graduate soon, and that means I'm gonna have to pay for an Adobe license month to month. And it's $50 US a month. And considering the main thing I'd use is Adobe Premiere and how often that software crashes and how unoptimized it is, yeah, I'm not paying that. So I'm gonna use a different program. Now, I'm glad I got that NVMe drive because during May and June and kind of the first part of July, I was really stressing the storage limits on my drive. Like, when I first got it, I'm like, yeah, man, you know, it'll take me a long time to even fill this up. Like, what? Like, I don't even plan to use all 2 terabytes of this. I just want it for the speed. And then I'm working on a project right now where I have a literal terabyte worth of gameplay that I've recorded that I had on that drive before I moved it off of there. And in June was when I had started making the games I played in the first half of 2020 video. Now, this is the kind of project I needed a desktop for. It was approaching half an hour in length, tons and tons of gameplay footage, and it was overlaid on top of footage of me talking and transitions and interstitials. Yeah, this probably was one of my more ambitious videos as of late. And you know, the funny thing is that when I tried exporting this video, like sometimes it would like screw up. So I had to like try re-exporting this video multiple times because DaVinci Resolve was just being stupid. And like, it helped having a powerful computer that I wasn't just sitting here for like 4 hours in order for me to find out like, yeah, you know, your video, it's not gonna complete rendering. And for July, I had put out the next time on FF7 videos. I hope you guys like that because it was a fun little experiment that was a way for me to learn DaVinci Fusion, which is a graphics compositing program alongside DaVinci Resolve, kind of like how Adobe After Effects is compared to Adobe Premiere. It was fun to learn and experiment with 3D text and like angle it to get the Star Wars crawl effect. And I did want to do more graphics compositing stuff in the future, but considering the quality of my current camera, that I feel like if I put like text like made in After Effects or Fusion or something, that it's gonna make the video look comparatively worse. So yeah, that's just kind of a bunch of the notable projects and milestones I had done over the course of the past year. And I do want to take time out of here and talk about the main components that have affected my workflow, namely my CPU and my GPU. So for the Ryzen 3700X CPU in my system, after using it for a year, my verdict is that it's pretty great. Now the main thing I use those 8 cores and 16 threads for is video encoding. Whether that be to lower res proxies when I first ingest stuff, or to when I export, or when I compress, that's the main thing I use it for. Now, considering that I film videos in 4K, and that I've talked about how video codecs and resolution scale pretty well with core count, that I could get something with more cores and save more time on rendering all this stuff. But the 3700X is so performant in its own right that like when I'm rendering stuff, that it doesn't feel like I'm waiting around all that long. So for me, there's no real reason to get a higher core count right now. Like even on longer projects, that like my sort of first half of 2020 games video, that it didn't feel like absurdly long for me to render out that video. Now, I haven't used Intel in a desktop system of a similar performance, so I really can't fairly say, you know, the comparison between the two, but considering it's in a similar performance class, that if you're gonna buy Intel for like a 10700K, you know, ignoring the price, that it probably is gonna be about as performant as a 3700X when it comes to similar tasks as I'm doing. Now with GPUs, I have the exact opposite experience, that if you swapped out the GPU in my computer, I could tell an immediate difference. Between AMD's GPU generally having a lack of software support, crappy encoders, and NVIDIA having just an absolute stranglehold over general purpose GPU compute with CUDA, that using an AMD GPU every day for the tasks I do is pain. I mean, good luck trying to find any software that's consumer facing that doesn't exclusively use CUDA. And so I am eternally grateful that DaVinci Resolve uses AMD GPUs as well as it does. If it wasn't for me being in the niche that I am, I would highly be regretting getting an AMD GPU. Okay. Enough talking about the past and hardware. What are my future content goals? What are the things that I am going to create that are gonna push this computer to its absolute limit? One of the things that I really want to try to learn is more Adobe After Effects stuff, because I do want to sort of create a more distinctive visual style for my channel, because you see a lot of other YouTube channels and like they have a specific visual aesthetic. And so I really kind of want to figure that out, not just through like spending time doing a bunch of graphic design, picking colors or whatever, but also through doing After Effects type stuff. And I probably want to play around with that and maybe make some more complicated things. And I want to do longer videos that I put in the time and effort to sort of talk about something more in depth and sort of expand on it, rather than kind of my current videos where they're kind of smaller-ish topics and I kind of expand them out. That I do like talking about more complex things and how certain things interact with each other. But at the same time, I have to be really interested in something like that deeply that I write a script long enough and I am willing to sit down and film myself talking about it and also edit all of it too for that long. And that's kind of one of the things as to why the first half of 2020 games video I think works, is that I can do sort of more my typical sort of smaller sort of discussion thing like my current length videos are, but it's in a overall longer video. So I don't feel like I'm burnt out talking about like one specific thing the entire time. Oh yeah, and that terabyte of gameplay footage that I mentioned earlier, yeah, that's gonna be used at some point in the next year, so keep your eyes out for that. I don't know, I hope you guys found this video interesting, because I know that I've put out hardware videos in the past and hardly anybody ever watched them. So I wanna do like a hardware discussion, but with like a unique twist to it. So I hope this format's more interesting. Maybe if I do hardware upgrades in the future, maybe I could talk about how it would improve my content or how it has improved my ability to make content. So anyways, guys, that's it, and have a good day.